Get ready, Nashville. The zoo's newest adventure, Leopard Forest, opens Friday, June 20th. Come explore 4 immersive habitats featuring colobus monkeys, klipspringers, DeBrazis monkeys, and the return of the majestic Maasai giraffes. And don't miss the stars of the show, critically endangered Amur leopards. Come to the zoo on June 20th for the ribbon cutting at 9:30 a.m. The first 2,000 guests get a free Leopard Forest bandana. And check out the zoo's social media and look for the Seeing Spots Challenge for a chance to win a zoo membership. Adventure awaits.
Today on CityCast Nashville, Bonnaroo 2025 is here, and we're talking with WNXP on-air host and Rue superfan Emily Young. She's got your must-see artists for all 4 days of the fest, and don't forget that spicy pie. It's Tuesday, June 10th. I'm your producer, Daniel Sumstein, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Happy Rue, Emily.
Happy Rue!
We are back for another year on the farm. So right off the bat, I want to hear, what was your first reaction when the lineup dropped this year?
I'm going to be honest. I blacked out when I saw that there would just be 3 King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard sets. I was like, nothing else matters.
Right.
You should go, if only for that and just that. So it took me a minute to say, okay, now we can dig in through the rest. And I noticed a few themes that were intriguing. And I find myself in my job kind of seeing these trends happen and not knowing how to react or where this is going to lie. And I'm talking about the power of TikTok.
Yes.
And so some of these artists are maybe not names that you would recognize from, I don't know, if you listen to other radio stations that are not the one that I happen to work for, or maybe, you're just listening to what is top 40 music. You're not necessarily familiar, but you will know a song if you're on TikTok. Does that equate to a huge live audience? I do not know. That is a struggle that I face all the time in my job. Do we know if this trendy TikTok song in these streams will actually mean that people will show up? Do you even know the name of the artist of this song that you're hearing 20 seconds of on TikTok every single day? We're about to find out. That is one theme. Another, a lot of pissed off women who are going to sing about it, which happens to be my favorite genre of music in general.
They definitely try to cater towards older people like my generation, the millennials. You've got the Avril Lavigne, you've got the Nelly. But then, as you said, there's a ton of the newer generation, a bunch of the TikTok artists. So yeah, I am curious to see how that blend works. Insane Clown Posse and Olivia Rodrigo fans in the same farm. That sounds incredible to me.
Well, it's interesting. You're also tossing in a Luke Combs, which I have been anticipating Bonnaroo embracing some of this. I mean, they've done classic country. I've seen Loretta Lynn play, but leaning into some stuff that is kind of more mainstream popular. Luke Combs is one of the biggest artists in the world right now.
Well, yeah, speaking of the main headliners, let's start with the big ones. Who are your must-see headliners at Bonnaroo this year?
Okay, honestly, this is when I start to feel shameful. As far as big font goes, there's only one I care about.
Okay,
and that is Queens of the Stone Age.
Yes.
Who are easily the most consistent rock band of the last 2 decades. And somehow they keep getting better. And it ages me and makes me feel a little bad about myself that they are the Sunday night legacy headliner, if you will. But I guess with 20 years under a belt, they are a legacy act at this point. The others, again, I think it's going to be interesting to see the crowds, or the same people that are there to see Queens of the Stone Age and Giz and some of these more rock and jam fans who really created the culture of Bonnaroo originally. Are they going to want to go see Luke Combs? It's really going to be, it's an interesting year this year, I think.
I'm hyped for Avril Lavigne just as a 90s kid. And I'm excited to see Olivia. I see videos of her shows and the crowds are massive. So talking about newer upcoming artists that actually, where their TikTok numbers do cross over to crowds, she's a shining example of that.
Oh, I mean, she has carved out this thing for young women that feels so special and undeniable. And I think that she is impacting the youth in a very positive way. And also, I am not above pop music by any means. And she writes some hits. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really good. And for those listening, I'm a small person. I'm 4'11", very trampable, people can really step all over me. And that's one of those shows with Olivia Rodrigo where I'm like, that's going to be so full to the point that it might be a little scary, but just have a buddy and you'll be fine.
Definitely going to be hanging towards the back. Like
Right,
I'll be
that's
so
the back
chill
corner.
just up on that little lawn on the side.
Yeah.
That's the spot. Let's dive into some of the smaller or lesser known artists, the undercard. Who are some artists that you think people should absolutely make time for?
I'm going to start with some of these women who are pissed off at the world bands. First and foremost, we are looking at Thursday, the Austin bass band Die Spits. Thurman Records just actually signed them recently and is putting out their record. It feels very reminiscent of Hole or other 90s alt-rock women groups. It kicks ass. The live show is so rowdy and so fun, high energy. Is it early in the day? Yes, but I think it's a way to like kickstart your day, just like getting the ball rolling and you're kind of anticipating what's going to come. Another one that's happening on Thursday is this band Wisp. It's actually one gal, her name's Natalie Lube. She's got a band around her. Very shoegaze, alt rock, super great. So on Thursday, those are two off the bat heavy hitters. Also on Thursday, not an undercard per se, Rebecca Black.
Yes.
Friday. I do feel like it's a mistake that they don't have her playing on Friday.
Yeah.
But
like main stage Friday, just for that one song.
Just one song. She comes out, opens the set, and then just leaves. I want to know, like, is it a proper set? Is it a DJ set? Like, what is this? Does she have a song that is not that song?
From what I've been seeing, she's been DJing, and I've heard that it's lit, honestly.
I'm intrigued. Well, sticking in the badass women, on Friday, there are two bands that I'm super pumped about, one of which is happening in Outeroo, so not inside the Bonnaroo Festival proper, but out in the camps, which is a fun thing that they've been doing the last few years. But the band is called Hello Mary. Rolling Stone, they dubbed them one of like the biggest things happening in rock music right now. I saw them open a show at the Blue Room. I was moved. I was like, wow, this rules. Who is this? And I listened, and now it's great that they're kind of getting their footing. So they're playing in Outeroo on Friday. And then Mannequin Pussy will be playing inside Bonnaroo. The energy of that band, the talent in that band, it is just undeniable. And again, the message behind all the songs is just exactly what we need to hear and sing about right now.
I think Drunk 2 is one of the greatest songs ever written, hands down.
The song Loud Bark, I'm like, yes, I have a loud bark. That is me. I feel this deeply in my bones.
I'm going on Saturday. They're the one band that I'm so bummed to be missing from the weekend.
Luckily, they do tour quite a bit, or they have been. So here's to hoping they can make their way back here.
Anyone else on the undercard?
Rachel Chinariri, she is going to be on the Witch stage, which is pretty substantial. I'm really intrigued. This is a great example of, I actually don't know what her draw is in real life. I know that she's all over TikTok, but do people know who she is actually? So that's a really interesting one. Same with Gigi Perez. Gigi Perez is actually going to be on the big stage, but like the first band on the big stage that day. So that's, you're baking in the sun, you're fighting for your life. That's like a really hard time and a really hard slot to play. And she is so new and green that I'm just really intrigued. I don't know. I start to go to these festivals now with what I do for a living too, as like an anthropologist, where I'm like, okay, who are these people that are coming to see this? Are you listening and singing along? Are you just with your friends? What's going on?
Those early shows are rough. I went and saw AFI at 2 p.m. in the baking sun, and I was like, this is how I'm starting my day, in the pit.
I feel like you have to take one of two approaches, and most people are. You're either like a daytime Bonnaroo person or a late night exclusively person. I respect both.
Yeah.
You're just getting a totally different experience. It's like two different festivals. But if you are trying to make some of these smaller font unknown names, I recommend getting some sleep, drinking some water, because you're going to see them at high noon. That sun's going to be blasting.
Let's get into some scheduling conflicts. Are there any conflicts on the schedule that are killing you right now?
Honestly, this feels like the first year in which I'm not having to stretch myself in a million directions. I'm going to see 15 minutes of this one, then 15, then 15. I think they staggered what I'm really interested in. And I feel too confident in that. I'm going to be at a show and someone's going to say, hey, did you know this thing's happening right there? And I'm going to miss it and take off
Just
running.
Immediately.
You know,
yeah.
you never, I feel like as much as you plan, something happens and I'm like, oh, I missed that. I had no idea. And that's the beauty of this festival is there's so much happening all the time. Do you have any big scheduling conflicts?
So right now, I mean, this actually segues into my next question, but the Super Jam is happening at the same time as Nelly. And that's a
See,
tough...
to me, I'm like, it's Nelly every time.
Same,
I'm
yeah.
like, it's not I don't have to fight a battle there. It's Nelly.
But getting to the next question, Remy Wolf is hosting this year's Super Jam, and the theme is a 1970s pool party, which sounds so sick. I saw that Haley Williams and Maren Morris are going to be there. Do you know what we can expect from that set?
Have you seen Remy Wolf live before?
I have not.
Her show kind of feels like a 1970s pool party, to be honest. It is a spectacle. It is a sight to see. There are moments that I forget there's music happening because there's so much else going on. It is a party. For those unfamiliar with Remy Wolf, it's like funky soul pop dance, but leans a little indie rock sometimes. It's truly, people toss out the word genreless too often, but she definitely embraces that. And the show, I mean, there's giant beach balls. It is absolutely wild that it makes sense for Remy Wolf to curate something. I think Haley is a perfect fit in there. Maren, I'm intrigued. Also, is the music going to be 1970s?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I have so many thoughts.
Mount Joy is going to be there too.
I do understand if people have a dilemma between that and Nelly, and I didn't use the word dilemma on purpose in reference to Nelly, but wow.
Love it. I was so bummed to miss the emo Super Jam that happened last year.
I do think it's really cool. There are some changes that have happened at Bonnaroo that I'm not necessarily fond of, but I respect some of the ways that they are trying to grow and expand. And I will say the Super Jam is one of those cases that even if it's not for me, it will appeal to someone else. It very much used to be, it is Super Jam and that there are 7 guitarists up there and everyone's going to get a chance to noodle and there's going to be all these solos and we're going to listen to a 15-minute long song. And then it slowly, year after year, kind of shifted. And then they were doing more bluegrass stuff. And now it seems that each year they're trying to go in some completely unknown, unpredictable direction. And I'm actually into it.
Let's talk about one other big change for this year. What do you know about the new Infinity stage?
I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you. I don't know. Do you ever see these things that, okay, this is when I start to feel and sound like a grouch and an old head where I'm they had the Calliope stage and they did this thing and then they used to have it this, and I'm fluff, get out of the way. I need to focus on what I'm focusing on, because one thing is for sure. I have been going to Bonnaroo for 15 years now, and I rode the Ferris wheel for the first time 2 years ago. It's just, I feel like you can't possibly do every single thing. If you do everything, you're also going to probably physically harm your body, and you should sleep and you should hydrate. But it kind of takes going back multiple times to experience things that you've never experienced. And that's why Bonnaroo is such a special place, because no 2 years are going to be the same. No 2 days are going to be the same. This Infinity stage is just another opportunity for folks to discover and experience something new and different. I want my tried and true. I know that when I get there, I'm going to beeline for that spicy pie. I'm going to know where my shade spots are. Where am I resting? Where am I going to get blasted with one of those misty fans? This is my move. This is my plan. It is definitely a late night thing. And as we have discussed earlier, I am a daytime Bonnaroo gal, so I will get some sleep because I want to see these tiny bands who are maybe playing a festival for the first time.
Sleep is crucial. Sleep and water.
Sleep, water, sunscreen.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the sunscreen and the water for sure.
So you mentioned that there's been some changes to Bonnaroo that you're not a huge fan of. Can you give us an example?
Well, I should preface the change, my my soapbox that I'm about to hop on, I should preface that by saying I understand why some of these things need to happen from a business standpoint and logistics standpoint. I get it. I work in event spaces. I understand how this goes. I understand the need for corporate sponsorship. However, let's do that in a more subtle way. Why am I walking into the festival and it's just like, here's the largest Corona sign you've ever seen in your life. Here is the liquid death activation. It's like everything that was once curated and special and felt artistic and weird in a Bonnaroo way is now branded. I understand. I get it. You're booking Olivia Rodrigo. That comes with a fat check. I understand the expenses. Like, man, if you rented a lighting rig these days, it's insane. I understand wanting to kind of cover your ass a little bit with corporate sponsorship to help financially support you and lift you. But man, is it lame. And along those lines, with some of those come some like brand exclusivity things. And I'm like, you're telling me the only beer I can drink on site is whatever shitty one is sponsoring this whole thing?
Yeah.
And it used to be like they would have the big brewer's tent and you could sample craft beers from around the US and it felt like a community and something special. And while the community aspect of Bonnaroo still exists, it's different. Heck, I went before smartphones existed. Like you were just in it and you were immersed in it. And so you had to kind of create some of these cultural things, but Bonnaroo was there to aid you along the way. You know, they're like, here's your daily newspaper. Here is panels along the side of the fence for you to paint your art on and maybe tag it. Like, it was just so weird.
Yeah, I saw a photo on Reddit the other day of like the old charging stations that they had at Bonnaroo, and it was basically just a tent with like a jerry-rigged all these different chargers. It's wild. And now you walk in and there's like a giant Verizon house.
And I mean, I understand the branding stuff has always been there. I used to really camp out at the Miller Lite stage. I remember seeing Jeff the Brotherhood play at the Miller Lite stage a million years ago. And that one ruled because I was like, they have these giant bean bags. I'm going to sit here. Some of that branding has always been there, but a little more subtle. Or maybe it was just here and there. And now it feels kind of like a full takeover. I also don't love the fact that paying for a camping pass is separate from admission into the festival, and that there's like, you can pay for better camping and all of this stuff. Like, some of that stuff feels like a money grab to me that takes away from the goodness of it. It used to be, all right, you're paying a couple $100s for all of this music, you're camping for free. I mean, if you add up a wristband plus a camping pass plus, you know, they're offering all of these additional add-ons, I'm like, man, this is costing $1,000 to sleep outside during the hottest part of the year in this state.
Yeah,
like,
minimum.
For what?
And that's not including your spicy pie.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to at least get 5 slices of spicy pie while you're there. I'm going to get at least 5 slices. So I have accepted. I used to be really more bitter and mad about the shifts in types of music they were booking because I am a rock gal. I am a jam band gal. I did love kind of how this festival started, and it was a lot of hippie dippy stuff. But some of the niceness that came with that is that people would bring their kids to Bonnaroo. You would see parents out there with like a wagon and their little kids. And I think that culturally there was a bit more purity to it and trying to not be hateful. I don't know. It just felt like it felt a little sweeter, and just like the nature of the festival has shifted, the type of artists they book, the type of clientele that comes, it's just different. It's not old hippies bringing their kids and grandkids. It's young people partying, which is fun, but it's different.
So my personal impression of Bonnaroo is that it's one of the last big, massive festivals to not be completely influencered, if that's a word. You know, if it's even just the high five line to start your day, like, it still has that community at its core. Do you think that's still true?
I do. I think there's just some of the influencer stuff sneaking in there, and you kind of have to look past that and remember, okay, at the end of the day, these are just fellow weirdos who are very comfortable sleeping in dirt and 100-degree heat for 4 days to see bands that they love. And I mean, I went to Bonnaroo my last year of high school. It was the first year. I was only allowed to go because my brother, who's 4 years older than me, was going. So my parents were like, you have to take care of her. And it changed my life. It is the reason I am who I am. It's the reason I do what I do for a living, because it was my first experience of looking around and seeing people like me. And I do feel like no matter how hard corporate sponsorship might try to beat that out of something, I think inherently it's woven into the fabric of Bonnaroo and you can't fully get rid of it.
CMA Fest is usually the same thing happening here in Nashville, but it shifted to a week earlier this year. What kind of impact do you think that'll have on attendance?
I would typically say it doesn't have any impact, but nowadays I think it's different because I think that country music look, it's always been popular, but right now as it's kind of leaned into some of this more like pop country, the same people that are listening to that are also listening to Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Bonnaroo and CMA Fest have ever had similar audiences in the past. And now I don't think you can say the same. Also, Luke Combs is headlining Bonnaroo one night. So I think that there might be people gearing up to do 2 weekends of live music. And I'm intrigued by that.
I do think the crossover of those worlds is good for society. Like, I love the idea of like a CMA Fest first time going to Bonnaroo and being like, oh, this is it. I kind of get it now. And I get the other side now, even. That's getting a little political, but that exposure is important.
I find this in working in the music industry, a lot of people who listen to maybe just country music or top 40 music find themselves in I'm listening to this because it's part of this machine that's telling me to listen to this. And the thought that some of those people might end up at Bonnaroo and see the dice bits and be like, what is this?
Yeah.
Is so heartwarming and sweet to me. And to just kind of get an insight into a majority of working musicians and working individuals within the music industry are working on that scale, not the Luke Combs scale. So if they can see that in a setting like Bonnaroo, I think that's special.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to wrap things up, but I wanted to check in. So if someone listening isn't going to Bonnaroo this year, what are some shows that are happening in Nashville this weekend that can't be missed?
I'm going to give you one thing, and it is a Nashville institution, and it feels so inherently Nashville. Just the name alone, the Full Moon Pick-and Party. It happens monthly at Percy Warner Park, and it is exactly what it says. It is a pick-and party, and you will see some of the most talented musicians you have ever seen. And maybe they played on a Randy Travis record in 1994, or maybe they're just someone's uncle that just loves to play banjo or guitar, and it's so cool and it's so sweet. I would love for younger people to get out there and get involved in this to make sure that the tradition of pick-and parties like this carries on for generations, because I do think that it is fundamentally important to this city. And look, I'm pretty sure cost of admission includes multiple beers under a full moon in a horse park. What else could you want?
Such a great suggestion. I went the first year I moved here, and it was like one of my first Nashville moments. Like, oh, I live in Nashville now.
I think I can say as a lifelong Nashvilleian, I think that I've earned the right to dub something peak Nashville. And I will say that the Full Moon Pick-and Parties are peak Nashville.
Awesome. Well, it's been so great chatting with you, Emily. I'm so stoked to see you on the farm this year.
Thank you so much. Again, just a reminder, we're sleeping, we're drinking water, we're wearing sunscreen.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Later.